Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you, welcome you to this Lunch and Learn today. Today, our speaker is Mr. Dave Parkhurst from Greenhaven, and he's going to be facilitating the Lunch and Learn today. So, Dave, I will turn this over to you.
Can you make me the host? It doesn't want to let me share my screen.
Oh, it was working a second ago.
Well, it'll let me share an app, but it doesn't want me to share the
Yeah.
screen itself. And I'd like to share the screen.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very
I
strange.
don't know how to do that. How do I do it? How do I do it, Dave?
It should be up in the upper right-hand corner of my panel there. And if you drag it down, the little three dots, it should you should be able to make me the host that way.
Oh, look who's coming. That's fun. There you go, Dave. I got you.
Okay, now let me
Hi,
try.
Carissa.
Hey, I know you.
I know her too.
Is it not letting me share my screen? Come on, Zoom.
Oh, it's Jacob.
Me, Carissa.
We need to update your Zoom, buddy.
Yeah, no, so when I'm using this office profile, it changes all my stuff to Carissa's, and I have no idea how to get it to stop.
All good. We'll figure it out.
No.
Over to you, Dave. We're ready when you are.
All right, as soon as I can get Zoom to let me share my screen, I will be ready to go.
Perfect.
Share desktop. It looks like it's all set, but let's try it. It's not giving me the option. Weird. Weird. Why won't it let me share? And you made me the host, right?
I sure did.
Okay, let's try one more time here. Share screen. No option for sharing the video. Huh. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do this another way because it will not allow me to, for some reason, share my screen. Zoom is kind of goofy now. Just going to start the application. And note. And y'all guys can look at multiple screens at once. Share screen, keynote, and there we go. Play the slideshow. And I guess, hold on. And you can see two screens at once, can't you?
Just the one.
Oh, okay. You see the one with the two slides on it?
No, it's just the one. It says New Walk on one side and AI and Google and business on the other. Is that two slides?
Oh, well, good. Then no, that's one slide. Good. So you see the right one then. Okay. Zoom is doing some odd things today. All right. So let's talk about artificial intelligence. Now, let me ask this before we get into the specifics of the slide here. What have any of you used AI before? Have you used ChatGPT or Bard or any of those things? Hearing
I have
nothing?
not, no.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that nobody has then. So, and that's helpful for me to kind of present it from the perspective of, you've heard about it, you're interested in it, but you've never seen it before. Is that right? So let's jump into it. Now, the second question is, does anybody recognize this guy that's right above the Google logo? Okay, we don't have any Battlestar Galactica fans. I'm batting 1,000 so far. Let's move on to the first slide. What is the AI revolution? So the AI revolution is really, I want to get you today in a kind of a starting position so you understand what AI is, how it can impact your business and your life, and what it is not. Because there's a lot of discussion about AI and about what it means, et cetera. And there's a lot of hype and other things like that that are just not true. And like any new technology that becomes commercialized, artificial intelligence, what it really is going to be is not something we really, have a full grasp on yet. So as an example, I was thinking of new technologies that have come around in the last 20 years or so. One of the new technologies that is no longer new to us, we all use every day, is are the cameras in our smartphones. Now, when this first started to become, a thing, when Kodak basically went out of business and all of the others that sold film kind of collapsed, people thought, here's how we're going to use smartphones, and here's how we're going to use photos on smartphones. Well, it turns out that they were all wrong, because we use smartphones now for doing selfies, an unpredicted technology. We use smartphones to communicate with each other and to put little cartoonish faces on ourselves when we talk to each other. All of these things were unpredicted when smartphones and photographs became digitalized and became part of our lives. Now, the same thing's really true with AI. So we talk about the things today that AI is doing, but a lot of the most important uses haven't really revealed themselves yet. So the first one I want to talk about is how artificial intelligence does at some human learning and human testing. So human or artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, is able to pass the bar exam, that's for lawyers, in the 90th percentile. So most lawyers don't pass the bar exam in the 90th percentile. Another one, the SATs. AI passes the SATs with a 1410 score, whereas the average human is 1060. The U.S. Biology Olympiad. I've got a scientist daughter, and so this is near and dear to my heart. Now, she's a chemist, not a biologist, so she's quick to remind me that this doesn't apply to her. But AI is able to pass the most stringent sort of competition for biology students in the 99th percentile. So AI is very good at science and at advanced placement exams. It's been able to pass 5 out of 5 of the AP college exams in art, biology, environmental science, macroeconomics, microeconomics, psychology, statistics, government, all of these different things, AI is very, very good at dealing with. Here's one you might not have expected. Who knows what a sommelier is? No wine drinker? Oh, there we go. Yes. Yes, a sommelier is a wine connoisseur, basically somebody that knows all about wines and is able to tell you whether you should swirl the wine to the left or the right, and can tell you about the palate. So in terms of artificial intelligence and knowledge about wines, AI could pass the certified sommelier exam with a 92 percentile, although we don't have robots that can sniff wine yet and this kind of thing. But fascinating. Medical exam. Now, this is one of the most promising areas of AI is medicine, because there's such a vast amount of information that is in the medical field. And I've actually used some AI tools to help figure out how to keep my 95-year-old dad going well and being healthy. So the AI can pass a variety of different medical exams, not quite as high as some of these others, because there's some nuance to medicine that doesn't exist in some other places, but definitely doing well. So The GRE, this is the graduate recommendation exams. It's a bit less genius in that, but it can pass those exams quite well. So AI's got a lot of information capabilities. The question is, how do we use those information capabilities? Let's talk about what AI really is. So the first thing is AI is really essentially machines performing human tasks that require some level of intelligence. Now, AI has been around for a very, very long time. Not just the kind of AI we're talking about now, but machines that perform human tasks that require some level of intelligence. You've got AI all over your home. So here's a couple of things that you have in your home that are AI. You've got a washing machine. Now, do you know off the top of your head how much water and the mixture of soap to water that's necessary to get the soil off of your stuff when it's muddy outside? You probably don't. You put it in the washing machine, you press a couple of buttons, and the machine does what it's programmed to do. It uses some level of super rudimentary intelligence that's programmed into it in order to get your clothes clean. And that's really what you care about. So the washing machine is a rudimentary AI. Your smartphone. How many of you interact with Google Voice or Siri? Anybody do that? Perhaps. Well, maybe not. But with the
I do.
voice, do you? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so how do you do that, Joanna? How do you interact with it?
I always just say, "Hey, Google," and everything listens.
Yes, yes. Now, yeah, I will tell you a funny joke about that. My my daughter has a cat named Siri, Ciri. And so yesterday she wasn't talking to her smartphone, her Apple phone, but she was telling her cat, "Oh, Siri, you're so naughty." And so her phone was listening and brought up, shall we say, naughty pictures. So anyway, you got to be careful what you say around your phone these days. Self-driving cars are artificial intelligence. Now, I've heard people say that, and we have self-driving cars right now. The technology is not perfect. People have died because of self-driving cars. But if you think about the intelligence that goes into driving a car, especially in the winter when there are white lines on the road and there are white snow all over the place, it requires quite a bit of intelligence. So that's why we're not quite there yet on those. Now, we've all probably interacted with these customer service chatbots, right? You go onto a website and it says, "How can I help you?" And it gives you a few options and you click through it. That's artificial intelligence. Now, these are the areas where we expect AI to become much more robust in the future and able to answer things that are sort of outside of its normal way that we've thought of it over the years. Unbeatable chess programs. So at this point, and chess is nothing more than math and prediction. It's statistics and math. I love chess, but that's really what it is. Humans can't beat the most advanced chess programs. It's grandmasters, etc. They just don't. So that's artificial intelligence. And we've had, I played the first chess program that I played in like 1985 or something like that. I could beat it then, but now not so much. And of course, what's taken the world by storm in the last year and a half or so is ChatGPT, and now I use more the Google one called Bard, which is quite a fascinating program. I find it a little bit more current than ChatGPT. So these are the current ones we use, and perhaps in the future we'll use, if anybody has noticed that little red dot on the right hand of my screen there, that's from 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's Hal's eye. So Hal was, of course, the ultimate AI. Now, of course, in science fiction, we find that the AIs are usually bent on killing us all. So, just make sure that you realize that you are probably predisposed to believing that AI is going to launch a nuclear war. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So let's talk about the one that has really taken the world by storm, ChatGPT. So about a year and 3 or 4 months ago, ChatGPT became something that kind of burst on the consumer scene, and it has become the fastest mass adopted software program in human history. More people used it quicker than any other program, Word or Excel or anything, in all of human history. So, and for good reason, because it is kind of amazing. Now, what does it do though? What is it? How does it work? So the first kind of terminology that you need to understand a little bit about is that it's all based on machines learning from a large language model. Now, we'll talk about what a large language model means in a little bit, but suffice it to say that a large language model takes a ton of data, petabytes of data. So we've got, you've got kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. Eventually you get up to petabytes and zettabytes, and it's just a lot of information, a lot of words. Now, what it does with those lot of words is it does what's called generative AI. And generative AI is different, like from Google, in that it generates responses to questions rather than just sharing something that somebody wrote on the internet. And again, we'll talk about what that means in a little bit. And now the place they want to go, the place that the industry is going and that people are freaked out about, is not generative AI, but artificial general intelligence. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Artificial general intelligence is what we are. We are a natural general intelligence. In other words, we could take in inputs on things that we don't already know about, and we can come up with responses to those. ChatGPT, Bard, and others don't have yet the ability to do that kind of human level intelligent response, but that's really where they're going towards. Now, one of the things that becomes most important if you use any of these AI systems is learning how to engineer your prompts. Now, what does that mean? Prompt engineering means that you are able to give a prompt, say something to ChatGPT in a way that it understands, in a way that gets you the response that you want. So one of the things that you and I have the ability to do as human beings is if Joanna says something to me and I'm not really quite sure what she's saying, it's happened once or twice, I don't know. If she says something to me, I can usually kind of figure out what she's saying. But with ChatGPT and the others, and they're okay with this, but they're not really great at this. So it becomes very, very important when you're interacting with AI, how you phrase your questions, your prompts, what you prompt it with. And those, in fact, there are artificial intelligences that will help you generate prompts, generate questions for other artificial intelligences that they can understand. So think about prompt engineering as the way you interact with with an artificial intelligence. So let's go through each of these a little bit so you have a baseline of understanding. Now, I don't want you to have to be an engineer or a computer geek like me. That's not the goal here. But if you understand some of how the car works, I'll put it in your terminology. If you understand a little bit about how an internal combustion engine or a direct drive, EV works, you're going to be a little bit better at operating the thing than if the whole thing is just a complete mystery to you, in my opinion. So let's start with a large language model. A large language model is a language model consisting of a neural network. In other words, it's interconnected pieces of information trained on large quantities of unlabeled text. In other words, you've got pages and pages and books and websites and all of this information and by unlabeled, it means it's not categorized text. And the language model essentially digests all of this information. And from there, that's the basis for how it answers your questions or does the tasks you want it to do. Now, early in my career in the computer industry, there was a phrase, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So an AI is only as smart as the vast amounts of text that it takes in. So is it possible for AI to be biased? Sure. Is it possible for AI to have wrong information? Sure. If you feed it a ton of information and a significant amount of it is wrong or is biased or something like that, it might output stuff that is sort of garbage. But this is the brain. So this is the warehouse of information that an AI like Bard or ChatGPT has to work with. Now, the other thing about it is most of these large language models are not based on live ingestion of information. In other words, they take this vast amount of information, they're trained on it, they get to know it, they memorize it, shall we say, and that happens at a point in time. Now, Bard, the Google one, has some of that and has some live data that it uses in its response as well. But this will, over time, and as technology becomes more and more powerful, they will be more and more based on live data. One of the reasons, if you follow the stock market at all, you're familiar with the idea of the Mag 7, the Magnificent Seven, and one of the companies, they're mostly technology companies, one of the companies in the Magnificent Seven is called NVIDIA, and they are worth insane amounts of money on the stock market because they make the chips that can process these neural networks of artificial intelligence information. That's why they're a part of that group of the Magnificent Seven. Now, what's coming next? ChatGPT, or what's here right now, actually. ChatGPT and Bard, the two big ones, are general models. There are specialist models coming, and the slide that I started with that talked about some of these, how well AI does on the bar exam or medicine or science or engineering. We are going to see, and we're seeing right now, and I'll share a slide in a little while about how there are specialist AIs coming that have deeper information than, say, ChatGPT does on medicine and all these other specialties. You will certainly see, and I'm sure they're out there now, and they're going to advance. You'll see auto repair shop AIs that are available to help you diagnose your problems as you're diagnosing cars. So that's the background of what AI pulls from. Now let's talk about what the next step in this AI construction looks like. Generative AI. It's a system that can generate text, graphics, movies, images by sampling the data in response to the prompts. In other words, this is the thing, this is sort of the how do we slice and dice all this information that's sitting out here in this big data warehouse that Bard or ChatGPT pulls from. So it generates responses to you based on your prompts, based on what you ask it, and it makes sense in some way of this information. Now, how does it do that? And this is one of the things to be aware of. And this is one of the both fascinating and somewhat scary things about it. Essentially, what Bard and ChatGPT do is when you say something to them, it takes the pattern of text that you've input in your prompt, and then it goes out and it looks at patterns of text out in its massive billions and billions of words, and it statistically predicts what a response to this would look like in real time. So if you say, what is, who are the faces on Mount Rushmore? It will take that text, it will go out, and it will not think at all. There's no thinking involved with AI. It seems to us, as we get responses, that it's thinking, it's conversing with us. There is nothing like that. It's statistically predicting when this pattern of words shows up, what another pattern of words is most statistically likely to show up in response to this pattern of words. So it is a mathematical algorithm that feeds back to us stuff that looks like intelligence, but there is no awareness, there's no self-awareness, there is no literal intelligence there. It's just statistical responses in response to prompts. Now, one of the things that's true about this means no human being has the ability at this point, we're a different kind of intelligence altogether than AI. No human being has the ability to do what AI does. Because if Joanna asks me a question, my brain draws on my experiences and my knowledge, et cetera, and I think about, well, what makes sense, and I give her a response. It's not a statistical thing. With AI, it is statistical, and so therefore outcomes are not fully predictable by humans. We can't do what AI does, just like AI can't currently do what we do. And so therefore, sometimes the responses are like, huh, that's interesting. And we don't really fully understand how all that works yet. We programmed it, yes. We don't necessarily fully understand how all that works yet. And that's also what has some people a little bit, weirded out, you might say. Now, who recognizes this guy? Somebody must recognize this guy.
Data.
Yes, Data from Star Trek. Thank you. Thank you. That's Data from Star Trek. So when we talk about an artificial general intelligence, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Data from Star Trek, an intelligence that is not just a statistical predictor of what word comes next in a pattern, but it's an actual intelligence like we are. We're a natural general intelligence that can respond to things in ways that are not pre-programmed. And it's hypothetical. It's a hypothetical intelligence agent which can understand or learn any intellectual tasks that you and I can do. And potentially, because it does it very fast and potentially can process more data than we can, it could maybe do more. This is what everybody's freaked out about. This is where Gates and Musk and Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, who got kicked out and reinstated within a week, this is what they are both interested in and worried about, because what happens if we create a machine that's smarter than us and that can respond in ways that we didn't predict and program? Well, I mean, I can refer you to any one of 150 movies over the last 30, 40, 50 years that take that hypothesis to a dramatic conclusion. We're not there yet, and maybe we'll never get there. I mean, one of the things that's interesting about this whole field is that, as long as we humans have been human and as long as we've been around, we really still don't understand, and we debate among ourselves, and philosophers and scientists and everybody debates among themselves about what intelligence really is. What makes a person? Is it just responses and neurons? There's a lot of stuff we don't know about what intelligence actually is. The other thing that they worry about is if an AGI ever did come to exist, it becomes self-enhancing. It creates its own program. Where would it go with it? What would it do with it? We don't know. So that's interesting. Now, I mentioned earlier that if you're going to use any of the AIs, you have to understand how to talk to them. It's just like any other relationship. If you're married, you've got to figure out what your spouse's love language is. You've got to try to figure out a way to communicate with your kids, etc. That is called prompt engineering in the AI world. It's just basically how you communicate with a thing to get it to do what you want it to do. You end up, whoops, I'm going the wrong direction here. It's speaking to AI in a way that it can understand and gives you the results you want. So I'll give you an example. There are some amazing art AIs out there where I can put in information. I say, this is what I want an image of. And it looks at all the information it's got, the massive amount of art information, and it creates an image for me. Now, those can be, how do you communicate to a machine how to make a piece of art? Well, you have to be an artist at prompt engineering to be able to do that. And the same thing is true with any of the other artificial intelligences. And so when you start to use them, you want to be effective with them, you would be well served to spend some time with some YouTube videos on how to talk to ChatGPT, how to talk to Bard, this type of thing. So if you want to use it, learn to communicate with it. Now, let's get into a little bit. I'm going to skip the video here and go straight to some business uses, just because I think the video will be kind of weird on Zoom. So in your independent auto shops, how do you imagine what's something you could do that would be a good business use for AI? Well, here's one. What if your service advisor speaks every single language fluently? That would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? I'll give an example of this from the medical perspective. As I mentioned, I've got a 95-year-old dad, and it takes a bit of maintenance to keep a 95-year-old going, and so we end up quite regularly down at Kaiser Urgent Care in Tacoma. They have little machines that they go around with, little iPads that use some kind of AI so that they can speak every language fluently. Whenever somebody comes in, and there's English speakers, maybe there's some Spanish speakers, maybe there's some Russian speakers, but maybe somebody comes in who only speaks Thai or only speaks Cantonese or Mandarin or whatever, and we don't have anybody that speaks that. Well, the ability to have a machine intermediary there that translates whatever they're saying into your language and translates your language into their language, wouldn't that be useful to have sitting on the front desk of all of your independent auto shops? That's a handy thing. What about research? Now, this is, from my perspective, this is the best use of AI that I currently have, researching everything. It's got so much data, and the way that we research now, most of us, is we Google stuff. And then we sort through web pages, we sort through this, we sort through that, we try to figure out an answer, and hopefully we got the first page, got the right information for us. Well, maybe it did, maybe it didn't, I don't know. AI is much better at sorting through information based on your prompts than Google is just by searching on web pages. So this has been very helpful to me in all manner of places. It's been helpful to me in communicating with my dad's doctors. It's been helpful for me in figuring out things in my business that I needed to know. So this is something, think of your artificial intelligence as your new research assistant. Here's another one. So in my business, we're on a mission to have standard operating procedures for absolutely everything. We want to make sure that there's nothing that's left to chance. There's nothing that just sits in my brain as the business owner, so that nine people can do whatever they need to do, and it's done to standard and it's done properly. So what we've been doing is describing to AI what we do and having it write our SOPs for us. Been very, very helpful. Creating, analyzing financial data and Excel formulas. Well, here's one that I heard about that I thought was very clever. Sometimes you get your credit card bill and it has something on it that you don't recognize, or maybe you vaguely recognize, and then it's got like phone numbers or other information that's attached to that descriptive information. Well, there's somebody had used ChatGPT to analyze their credit card bill every month and tell them what each of these things that were on the credit card bill, what companies they came from and what it likely is. So that's handy. Or for instance, maybe you have it analyze your profit loss statement. So I know I know that there's a lot of shop owners that are involved in groups together, 20 groups, I believe, and other business groups where you compare and analyze financial data. You've got a consultant in all this. Well, what if you could tell AI, take a look at my P&L and go compare it to all the information you can find online or find in your large language model, and give me a grade on how my business is doing, or give me some places where my business is not performing as well as other people's business by comparing data. It's great at comparing data. Or you can tell it to, for instance, take your data and produce a P&L for this group or that group or the other group. So some stuff we can do that's very handy in that regard. Another one, writing, enhancing, proofreading emails and marketing documents. So this one's sort of near and dear to my heart because I'm a marketer. That's what I do. I do digital marketing, whether that's Google search engine optimization or website creation or, excuse me, email marketing, this type of thing. It could help you with some of these sort of standard things. So I had, excuse me, I had a client I was with yesterday that they're looking at hiring a marketing intern. They're a law firm. And so I told AI, go out, look at everything you can, and write a good marketing or a good job description for a marketing intern half-time for a law firm. And it created one. It went out and looked at D.com and monster.com and the various and sundry other job sites and came up with one. You can have it proofread your emails for you. I had one that I was experimenting with, and I told it I wanted it to write a reprimand email, but I wanted to write it in an encouraging way for an employee. Now, it wasn't for one of my employees because I was just experimenting with it. My employees do everything right all the time. So there you go. But it created a reprimand email or a we need to improve email. And it did it in such a way that was very readable and at the same time conveyed a tone of we really need to improve things. Marketing documents. Another way you can have it help you is, and I want to also say that AI is not a replacement for human beings because it can write things that tend to be dry. But you could have it do the basics. Say you've got a new product and say, hey, I've got this new product. I need a marketing one sheet that has the top 3 benefits of this and where it might apply, and with some quotes on how this has benefited other people. Give you the basics of that. Start it for you. So that's another one. I'm just going to go through since we have limited time. Building websites from hand drawings. There's been I've seen that done. It's now again, if you want to build the most compelling things either in text or visually, having a human being to do that is going to be necessary. We don't have artificial general intelligence yet. Doing competitor analysis. Go out and find me the top 3 competitors for my service in the local area based on this criteria, and have it go look at those for you. Google ranking. So we use one of the things that is sort of our claim to fame in my business is helping people get better ranking on Google. Anybody can build a website, anybody can get reviews, all that kind of stuff, but actually getting top ranking on Google is
them boxes go down here.
Kyle,
Epods.
can you please mute?
I got 7 of them. So for
what's that?
Kyle,
place, you don't keep them here.
please
Right.
mute.
I mean, oh,
Okay, there we go. Okay. So helping you analyze who ranks well for the terms that you want to rank well for in your business is another way to use artificial intelligence. So let's see. We're at 12:38. So I don't think I'm going to actually, if there's time left, I'll get into actually doing some fun with ChatGPT and showing how it works. But I want to show you this. 20 new AI tools. So these are ones, and there's new AI tools coming out all the time. One of the most significant domain extensions that's being used right now is not .com, but is .ai. So they're Ask Your PDF, an AI chatbot that will allow you to say, scan this PDF and look for this information. Nero AI allows you to up and downscale your images without losing quality. And that's a really interesting one because anybody that knows anything about graphics knows that you can always downsize a graphic and you're okay. But if you want to make a graphic bigger, say for an outdoor sign or something like that, it's problematic because you can't get better than the original. Well, now with this AI, you can. There are extensions for Chrome and for other browsers that will allow you to use ChatGPT to find information on certain websites. Let's see, let's look at some of these that are more interesting. Oh yeah, Engage AI. This is a fascinating one. Using an AI tool to write insightful comments on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a place we should all be, and we should all be doing work in business as a business. But sometimes it can be difficult to actually get good comments out of your head. AI can help you with that. Let's go down a little bit further. Oh yeah, Harvey.ai, an AI-powered tool for legal advisors. Now, I'll tell you about these. A lot of these tools require you to be in the industry that you are using it for in order to qualify to use it. So I signed up, or I tried to sign up for Harvey.ai a while back because I thought, wouldn't it be handy to have my own little AI attorney to answer questions for me? Well, they don't allow you to do that unless you are an actual legal professional, because they don't want you to just ditch all the attorneys out there. Don't want you to just ditch them and ask AI questions from now on. So that's something to keep in mind. Durable.ai builds websites. Barely AI will read and write content. Your smartphone these days will read your messages, read your email messages to you. Like, for instance, I have to do it while I drive. I get about 300 or 400 email messages a day, and most of them I don't even need to pay attention to. But maybe I get 100 that have something that I need to know about with a client or something. Having AI read those to me and then having it help me compose responses can be very helpful. Oh, let's see. Look at some of these others. Remove background image, automate repetitive tasks, magical.ai, rephrase, take your whatever text you've got and convert it into a video, into an animated video. Pretty cool stuff. So you can see here that just as there are lots and lots of specialties among human beings that do different things, AIs are the same way. It can help you to tackle all sorts of, in some cases, mundane tasks. Really, AI is sort of the fulfillment of the promise of the computer. Back in, I first started working in the computer industry in 1984, so very long time ago now. 40, is that 40 years? Gee whiz, that's a long time. So in the early days, I would tell people that computers were going to save you so much time because they were going to do repetitive tasks for you that gives you free time to go ski and do other things. Now, half of that was right. Computers have freed us up to do lots of things, but unfortunately, computers have also raised the bar in terms of how much stuff we actually have to do. I have to do 2FA, two-factor authentication, just to look at my bank statement every month, and all sorts of other things. So, but AI really takes that to the next step by being conversational. It's not just what you know to program into your keyboard. Now that you do have to speak to it in its language, and like you said, prompt engineering earlier, but it isn't something that has been possible before to speak to it in such natural language as we can today. Now, let's do this. Let's actually pause this share right here and pause my presentation. I apologize about my throat here. I'm kind of stuffy today, it seems like. And we're going to get into Bard. And I will share my screen so you can actually see AI in action. Okay, let's see. Let me go back to Zoom. And I'm going to share again. Share Google Chrome. And y'all ought to see my... Okay, so now you can see my Google Chrome screen. And this is the Bard that I actually use and I actually interact with all the time. So I'll show you some of the searches that I've been doing. So I have, this is right up you guys' alley. So I have a 2013 Mercedes-Benz E350 that has a problem that nobody can solve. In fact, some of you know Gary Smith, who is master diagnostician. I've spoken with Gary about this. He says, Dave, you're out of luck, go get a new car. It's like, oh, great. So, but I am relentless on this because I like my car. It just can't be fixed. So I went when I said, where can I get bids on doing a timing chain replacement on this car? And so I'm talking to AI, and I have this long conversation with AI on a lot of these topics. You see, it goes back here, how far it goes back. Are there any recalls? One of the things that AI does, which is fascinating, is it allows you to have a generative conversation. In other words, you start with a question, and then you ask a follow-up question, and then you ask another follow-up question, and then you ask another follow-up question, and it is conversational back and forth on topics like this. And so I went through a long line of how do you do this, how do you do that, and I said, well, show me some resources on this. It shows me some resources. So it's a fascinating tool in that regard. Let me tell you another one. So I had, my dad, as I mentioned, is 95 years old. And I had a situation where the doctor who was talking to us about what he needed, I wanted to talk to. And they said, no, you can't talk to him. I said, I think I've got a right to talk to him. And they said, no, you can't talk to him. That's not part of your plan. And so I went and I asked Bard, in Washington State, do I have a right to speak to the physician in charge of my medical care? And so Bard responds. He says, yes, you absolutely have a right to speak to the physician in charge of your medical care. And here's the Washington State laws that do this. So when I went back to the Kaiser folks, I said, look, I have a right to speak to who's ever in charge of the medical care according to Washington Administrative Code 248-48. And also according to the American Medical Association Code of Ethics, here's what it says. And they're like, oh, okay. I ended up talking to the person I wanted to talk to. Here's another one. Having AI do some research for you. So let's see, where is the, oh, here it is, back here. So I asked, well, will Starlink get faster in 2024? Can you ask Elon to call me for suggestions? It didn't allow me to talk to Elon Musk, unfortunately. You could ask, right? How much does the most popular YouTubers make? I was interested in that, and it showed me some of them. I finally ended up asking it about some new wireless technology called HAPS technology. So the point here is that if you're interested in something, rather than just Googling it, you can get into your artificial intelligence and ask it some questions and have it tell you things that would be hard for you to otherwise find. Now, do any of you have any kind of things you'd like to query the artificial intelligence about?
Not really, but I can say that last night I asked ChatGPT for the Washington State regs on what exactly has to go on an automotive repair invoice. So it was very beneficial. Just wanted to make sure that I was compliant with current law.
Absolutely. Well, and that's very practical, because otherwise you would have had to go to the Washington State website, the legislature's website. You have to sort through the various WACs and RCWs and all that. And here it did it for you. It becomes your research assistant. And
it actually gave me the WRC, and then I was able to go to the Washington State website and actually print the WRC, which was very.
Absolutely. And that's really, if at the end of the day, with all of this stuff, that's really the state of where we're at. Is it gives you the ability, it gives you an assistant that can go do research for you. It can help you to find information that otherwise would take you longer to find, and it can help you format and write information in good, cogent English ways that you might want to share with other people. So it's fascinating in that regard. And I use it all the time here. So I had, for instance, one of the treatments my dad was on. I wanted to find out how effective it is, and so I went and I did a little bit of research. I had it do some research for me. How long is this effective? What's going on here? So it allowed me to talk to the doctor in ways that the doctor was like, "Are you a medical professional?" I said, "No, I just have a computer background and I can find this information out." And I got some good feedback as a result of that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't know what I was talking about. So let's go back to the presentation here. And I want to.
Dave, there is a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let's look here. Okay, got it. Yes. Hey, Ed, can you provide this? Yes, I'll provide that list for you, and I'll send it out to every. Joanna, you got the list of everybody here, right? Emails.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I will send that out to you. In fact, what I'll do is I will get the updated list and send that out to all of you, because this one's about 2 or 3 months old. So I'll get you an updated list.
Great, Dave. Thanks. I appreciate that.
You betcha. Okay, so we're gonna go back to.
Hey, Dave, while you're switching, I have another question, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So if I want to analyze a profit and loss statement with
Yes.
my buddies at chat box wherever I go, so say I want to look for inefficiencies, is there a prompt in engineering that does that, or am I or can only use comparative ratings or comparative information?
I'm sure there's probably a financial one that will do that, or a series of prompts, because I've actually seen that demonstrated. I don't know which one it was, but with available information on the web, it can digest all of that and then give you some like industry standards and this type of information. So I believe there is. I'll see if I have that in my notes, and if I do, I'll send it to you.
I appreciate it. I'll play with it too. I was just curious if you found any of these other sites that might help.
Yeah, I did see it demonstrated. I don't know which tool it was that did that, but I did see that demonstrated. And it's very cool. I mean, talk about it, the using Chat GPT or Bard is a lot less expensive than my CPA charges me, to do that same kind of research.
well, everybody in the industry could use it, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, so I am going to get out of this, and I'm going to share here once again. Come on, Zoom. There we go. Keynote and present. Whoops. Now I can't see my keynote screen. Move out of the way. There it is. There we go. Okay, so let's go to the next one here. Now, this is the only presentation I do where that I've ever done that people always ask me to talk about doomsday. So I accommodate that in a little way by talking about the what people are talking about with the dangers of AI. You've probably heard about Gates and Musk and all these others, Bezos and others, that have concerns about it. There was an open letter that a bunch of these folks, a bunch of these, very wealthy tech giants signed, that urged a great pause, a 6-month pause in the development of AI, so people can understand, and so that the industry can understand what the dangers were and how to protect against the dangers. Of course, that was never going to happen. I think it was just positioning, because you've got a brand new technology that stands to make people billions and tens of billions and maybe trillions of dollars. And let's just stop for a while. That wasn't ever destined to happen. But, it did illustrate that there are some concerns about it. One of the concerns that people have about it is mass misinformation. AI speaks very convincingly. And with lots of information out there, what if it digests a lot of quote unquote fake news or information that people consider false? Well, it can spit that back out in mass format and can potentially cause harm to society by deceiving people. Deep fakes. I'm not sure if you all have heard of deep fakes before, but AI can essentially, certain, image AIs can take a picture of a person, maybe take lots of pictures of a person, and create photorealistic images of them doing things that they didn't do that are very bad or very embarrassing. So that, the old phrase was, you believe what you see, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Not anymore. So just be aware. I've seen some of these AI generated pictures of people doing things, people long dead, that are doing things in the modern era. In fact, in Star Wars, they're using quote unquote deep fake technology to bring back, like Peter Cushing, who's been dead for many years. He was in one of the Star Wars movies not too long ago. They brought back Luke Skywalker in as a young Mark Hamill, and who acted, and he looked quite realistic. They brought back Princess Leia. Of course, Carrie Fisher sadly has been dead for a while now, but they brought her back, and it wasn't cartoonish. It was quite realistic. So imagine what could be done, and those are all positive and interesting. But they're also concerning because you could use those to have people doing things that they didn't do and shouldn't do. There was, and I researched this to make sure this was true. This is very concerning. There was a person in a Belgian, and he was consulting for about 2 or 3 weeks. He had this ongoing conversation going with an artificial intelligence about his depression. And eventually, in that conversation, the AI said, "Well, it doesn't sound like you got anything to live for." The guy committed suicide. At first, I thought, well, this sounds very apocryphal. It's not. How could this really be? But I checked it out, and in various Belgian news sources and European news sources, it turned out to be true. So, and it's because AI speaks with such authority and convincingly that it led him to logically conclude that his only out from this AI that he made a relationship with was to commit suicide. So now, needless to say, that AI has been significantly changed to not do that anymore. The other thing that you will, if you listen to AI scientists, and I listen to a variety of different AI podcasts by leading luminaries, etc., AI makes stuff up. AI is designed to provide answers to questions, to provide content to people. So that's what its purpose is. Now, what is it if it doesn't have enough content, or it can't, statistically put together something that is accurate? AI has been known to make stuff up, and the scientists call that hallucinations. AI will sometimes tell you something with great authority and references that are not true. They're working to attempt to minimize hallucinations, but they do happen. So again, just because it says it doesn't mean it's true. Now, the other thing that people worry about is if AI gets to a place where it's self-evolving. In other words, AIs do programming. One of the ways that we use it in our business is if we need a piece of code created that we're not sure how to do, or that's going to take a while to do, we can have AI code it for us. We can say, I need you to do this, and it'll create the code. But what if AIs start to do this free of our constraint or programming? That could be a concern. The other thing they talk about is a singularity event. Now, the best way to illustrate the singularity event is from that great scientific movie, The Terminator, when Kyle Reese was describing to Sarah Connor how the Terminators came to be. He said that there was a moment that Skynet became self-aware, and right after that moment, it launched an all-out war on humanity and destroyed most of us. Now we got Terminators chasing us, want to kill us. That is what is called a singularity event. Will there come a time when AI becomes self-aware and then decides that we're kind of a nuisance and we should be gone? What happens if we give, and right now, the Defense Department and Lockheed and other defense contractors are incorporating artificial intelligence systems into weapon systems, into advanced weapon systems. The F-35, others have certain things that have artificial intelligence interacting with it. What if it doesn't do a good job with automated weapon systems? If it's got that kind of power, it's kind of interesting what could happen. The father of AI, a guy by the name of, and we've got like a minute left here, so I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with the end of the world. Yudkowsky, he wrote a treatise on this. He's supposedly one of the most brilliant AI researchers in the world. And he said, look, if AI research isn't stopped, it will mean the end of humanity. And he's talking about how, well, what if AI, you can email DNA now. I mean, this is not controversial to say this. You can email a DNA sequence from one lab to another, or from one person to another. And that lab, the other lab who's receiving that email, can synthesize that DNA and do something, do whatever they want to do with that DNA. Well, what if AI wants to get out of its box and emails some bad DNA that gets, we've all seen what happens when a worldwide pandemic happens, and bad stuff happens. So that's another possibility. So there are significant downsides. I tend not to be one of those. I tend to be a more positive person, as those of you that know me know, and I tend not to believe that's going to happen. But there are significant concerns that exist in the AI space. Eventually, the next step in AI is going to be the merging of AI and robotics. So that Honda is creating them, Tesla's creating them. Lots of places are creating robots that are merged with AI to do simple household tasks for us. Clean your room, do the dishes, do all these kinds of things. That is real, and that is coming in this decade. You'll see that probably propagate fairly quickly from now on. So I'm going to just stop right there and ask if anybody has any questions that they want to ask or talk about. And are there any AIs on this call right now? I just want to know. I think Joanna, Ed, are you an AI? You're the real Ed, I think. That's probably the real Ed there. That's good. You never know with the deep fake.
Yeah, that's me, Dave.
Okay, that's you. That's you. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
No, it's very interesting. I mean, I think it's a powerful tool for so many things we can use it for in our industry or just our lives. So, it's just,
It is.
you said the prompt engineering is where I've been struggling with it, and
Yep.
experiments I've been running. So, but I think it's very helpful. A lot of great, and that's why that list that actually is more precise. And I don't know. I guess some people have told me they just start talking. So can you just or they're using a voiceover to type onto the system?
Yeah,
What to do. So
you can do that. It's kind of the brute force approach to it, because
yeah,
and you'll learn after a while, because most of conversational with AI is not going to work very well, because it isn't
Mhm.
its language yet. It's
Yeah.
very good at statistically predicting what's going to come, but it's not as good at necessarily listening to us if we're outside of its. And the thing to consider about that, though, is like I said, ChatGPT only became a real consumer thing like 16 months ago, 14 months ago. So we're at the very, very beginning of all this stuff, and all this will improve quickly and over time.
Sure. So one other question, Dave, I'm not taking too much time, is so when you have a conversation and actually the system, whatever you're using, I've been using OpenAI, which is chat.
Yeah. ChatGPT. Yep.
Get it done. So, and I work, when we go back and forth, when I work this document out I want to use, what's the best way to get it out of the chat program into another program so you can print it to make it usable?
I tell you, I've taken the old-fashioned way because I've done that a lot, like with these SOPs we're creating. I just copy and paste. I just literally highlight, copy, paste. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a more sophisticated way to do it, but at this point,
Can you paste it into anything? I've had some issues trying to get it to format right into other programs. The font size is off or whatever it is. So
you might have to do some format. If the forming that I've found that's worked is like bullet points and lists. Those seem to have worked pretty well for me. So I do most of my formatting in the like Word or
okay. Yeah, I've been moving it into Word usually. That I just can smooth it out a bit, I guess.
But one of the things that's going to happen, it's happening right now and it's going to happen. This is the other next generation. AI is sort of the back to the Lord of the Rings, the one ring to rule them all. So AI will be the one program to rule them all. In other words, so like Microsoft Office you won't really interact with Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all that so much. You'll interact with the AI that will interact with these programs.
Yeah.
So you'll have your AI, your personal assistant will operate all the programs for you, and it'll give you what you want. So you don't really have to learn Word. You don't have to learn Excel and pivot tables and all that kind of stuff that you got to do financially in Excel.
Yeah, I think Microsoft 365 Office is heading that way quicker than we think if you watch what that
Yeah.
does. So
In
thinking on your
fact,
phones
every
and on your
program,
tablets, and yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
every program will. Every program,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I literally say that it's going to be the one program we all use, and it'll use whatever programs it needs to do what we want, but we won't really have to interact with programs so much anymore. We won't have to learn new interfaces, which from my perspective, is great. If I don't have to learn another new interface in my life, I'm happy, but I have to learn new interfaces all the time to keep up with the digital marketing stuff that we do. So it can be kind of daunting.
No, that's amazing. They can even make old people smart. I built my first spreadsheet with it, just told it what I wanted to do, and I needed the formulas, and it just printed out a recipe, and I just had to put it in. It was amazing, and it worked.
Well, in fact, that's interesting. I have used it to formulas that I haven't known how to do, and I've been using Excel since it was originally introduced in the late '80s or whenever it was. I said I need a formula for this, and boom, it gets. I stick it in there, boom, it works. Yeah, it's a time saver if you use it. If you kind of know where the opportunities are.
Yeah, that's very good. No, I appreciate you taking the time to educate us more about it today, Dave. So thank you.
Yeah, and there's more to come. We'll have to revisit this again 6 months, 9 months down the road again.
Yeah, don't wait too long. It'll be a whole new system by then. No,
Exactly right. Well, see, next time I'm hoping to do this presentation, Ed, it's going to be an avatar of me, and I'll just be off, having the Mai Tai someplace.
you told
That's
perfect.
cool. We'll see how that works.
Bring your Mercedes down. I'll fix it for you.
Well, I'm tempted, Ed, man. I'm tempted.
Side is
All right,
pretty nice
guys.
down there too. So thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. Thanks for letting
Thanks,
me join
everybody.
you.
Well, real quick before everybody leaves, David, we definitely want to thank you for doing this for us today. The presentation, we'll have this uploaded on YouTube in the next week. So if you guys want to review it there, you can. Also, I put a couple links in the chat. PAVE training is open for registration right now. So if you're interested in doing the PAVE virtual training, that's January 19th and 20th. That is registration is open. Also, ATE Seattle registration is now open as well. So if you want to get registered for that event, it's there. Plus our winter retreat. So I put a link for our the Nuwaka account there. So you can go to that. Right on the homepage is our winter retreat registration. So we'd love to get everybody involved in those 3 upcoming events that Nuwaka's got going on. So any other questions for me or Dave?
So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.